Princess Adana was the pride of the Abodo Oma kingdom, beautiful, graceful, and born into royalty. To the world, she had everything: wealth, power, admiration, and a future already planned for her. Yet beneath the regal gowns and palace walls, Adana felt trapped in a life that never truly belonged to her. Surrounded by luxury, she carried a quiet loneliness, longing for something real beyond the gilded cage of royalty. Far from the palace lived Chaik, a man whose life could not have been more different. He was a taxi driver navigating the chaotic streets of Lagos, hustling daily just to survive. But behind the steering wheel was a brilliant mind. Chaik was a civil engineering graduate, top of his class, whose dreams had been delayed by a harsh reality where opportunities were scarce and talent often went unnoticed. Still, he carried himself with dignity, kindness, and quiet resilience. Fate, as always, had its own plans. One sweltering afternoon, Adana escaped the palace without guard or royal convoys, craving anonymity and a taste of normal life. Disguised in simple clothes, she hailed a taxi, Chaik's taxi. In that brief moment, two worlds collided. When their eyes met in the rearview mirror, something unexplainable stirred. Chaik saw not a princess, but a woman who felt genuine and familiar. Adana saw not a driver, but a man of intelligence, warmth, and depth. They spoke, they laughed, and with every passing second, an invisible bond formed. Neither knew it yet, but destiny had quietly stepped into the back seat. What began as an ordinary taxi ride became the spark of a love story that would challenge tradition, defy status, and prove that sometimes, the perfect match is found where you least expect it. Adana found herself drawn back to Chaik in ways she couldn't explain. What began as a simple taxi ride slowly turned into a quiet ritual, one she justified with small excuses that felt harmless but meant everything to her. Again and again, she chose his taxi, craving the calm strength in his presence and the effortless intelligence in his words. She loved listening to him speak about the city's crumbling roads and bridges, his eyes glowing with passion as he imagined solutions no one had given him the chance to build. In those moments, she felt seen not as royalty, not as a symbol, but as a woman. Chaik noticed it too. This elegant, mysterious woman who returned to his taxi instead of choosing luxury cars or royal escorts was unlike anyone he had ever met. She listened, truly listened. When he spoke about his abandoned engineering dreams, she asked questions that showed genuine interest, not polite curiosity. He didn't know her real name or her word, only her quiet grace and thoughtful nature. Yet every time his phone rang and it was her, his heart lifted in a way that felt both terrifying and beautiful. Their conversation stretched beyond the ride itself. After dropping her off, they would sit parked down the street, talking for hours in hushed tones, as if time had momentarily forgotten them. They shared dreams they rarely spoke aloud, fears they carried alone, and a mutual longing for lives that felt more authentic. Adana revealed the suffocating weight of royal expectations, the loneliness hidden behind ceremonial smiles. Chaik spoke of responsibility, sacrifice, and the pain of potential left unrealized. In each other, they found understanding without judgment, a rare, fragile bond. But as their connection deepened, so did the danger surrounding it. Their affection, once innocent, began to carry consequences. This was no ordinary romance. Adana was a princess bound by tradition and power, and Chaik was a man her world would never consider worthy. Their secret smiles and lingering glances were quietly moving toward a collision with a reality far harsher than either of them was prepared for. You guys. The tension is real. Princess Adana and Chaik were living in their own beautiful bubble, right? But bubbles, darling, always burst. Collision. Adana's birthday arrived wrapped in splendor and expectation. The palace glowed with grandeur as dignitaries, noble families, and eligible princes from neighboring kingdoms gathered to celebrate the jewel of the Egwe kingdom. King Obinna and Queen Ngozi stood proudly among them, their smiles heavy with purpose. This night was not only a celebration. It was the perfect moment to present a suitable husband for their daughter. Yet beneath the gold, music, and applause, Adana felt painfully absent. Her heart was not in the grand ballroom, it was miles away, with a man the palace would never approve of, a simple taxi driver named Chaik. Days had passed without a word from Adana, and Chaik's heart grew restless with worry. He dared not call her, fearing exposure. But he remembered her mentioning a big event at the palace. Driven by longing and fear, he made a reckless decision. He drove his humble taxi to the palace gates, telling himself he only wanted a glimpse to know she was okay. Fate, however, had other plans. A sudden disturbance broke out near the palace entrance. Amid the confusion, Chaik spotted Adana, visibly shaken. Instinct overtook reason. Forgetting class, status, and danger, he rushed toward her. In that moment, he was no longer a taxi driver, he was her shield. And when Adana saw him, relief and love flooded her heart. But this reunion was witnessed by all. King Obinna and Queen Ngozi saw everything. The king's fury erupted instantly, his voice shaking the palace grounds as he demanded to know who dared touch his daughter. Guards seized Chaik, dragging him away. Adana's composure shattered. With tears and defiance, she cried out his name and confessed her love openly. The palace fell into stunned silence. The secret was exposed, the fairy tale broken. And with the king's rage unleashed, their love was about to face its greatest trial yet. Princess Adana's public declaration of love for Chaik, bold, raw, and unapologetic, has ignited a fury no one could contain. What she called love, her father, King Obinna, saw as disgrace. In his eyes, Chaik was not a man worthy of consideration, but a reckless commoner who dared to cross sacred royal boundaries. Without mercy, Chaik is seized and thrown into the palace dungeon, stripped of dignity and treated like a criminal. Adana's desperate cries echo through the halls as she pleads with her father, reminding him that Chaik is educated, honorable, and sincere. But the king's heart is sealed shut by pride, tradition, and fear of scandal. To him, Chaik's love is an insult to the throne. Adana is confined to her chambers, isolated and watched, her freedom reduced to silence and tears. Her mother, Queen Ngozi, torn between compassion and duty, tries to reason with her daughter. She speaks of legacy, responsibility, and royal obligation, but Adana hears only the sound of her heart breaking. Love, to her, is not a weakness. It is truth. In the dungeon, Chaik endures harsh interrogations meant to break him. Guards accuse him of manipulation and deceit, but he never wavers. Bruised yet resolute, he speaks only one truth, that he loves Adana, and she loves him. His honesty only deepens the king's rage. Determined to erase the scandal, King Obinna delivers his verdict. Chaik is banished from the kingdom, warned never to return. Adana, against her will, is to be married immediately to Prince Emeka, a union meant to restore honor, not happiness. As Chaik is marched away, exiled and broken, Adana watches helplessly from her window. A silent scream escapes her as the man she loves disappears into the distance. Their separation is brutal, so deep, and devastating. Leaving behind one haunting question, is this truly the end, or merely the beginning of fates?
Geçişme ben, geriye nedir?